What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Antonio Pierce gaining momentum as a leading candidate for the Raiders head coaching position is the topic today. Recent reports surrounding the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching position have ignited speculation and discussions within the future of Antonio Pierce and potentially even our star defensive end Max Crosby. The situation appears to be rapidly evolving with Antonio Pierce at the center of attention. Contrary to expectations, the Raiders owner Mark Davis hasn't initiated any head coaching interviews as of yet. However, a significant development has emerged as there has been an increasing mounting pressure on Mark Davis to retain Antonio Pierce as the full-time head coach. The pressure is not only coming from external sources but also within the locker room itself. One key player, all-pro edge rusher Max Crosby, is reportedly considering requesting a trade if Pierce isn't retained, according to reports from Tom Pelissero. Now, before Crosby and Adams, there's been a lot of different players coming out with vocal support for Antonio Pierce, but nothing as far as this reportedly drawing a line in the sand type of situation with Max Crosby. This suggests a strong, resounding endorsement for Antonio Pierce's leadership from a prominent figure within this team. Now, personally, I have no idea if this is legit or not, but just based off this report, if you're asking me, Max Crosby is not worth risking. If we brought in a high-profile name like Harbaugh, could the Raiders run the risk of losing our star defensive franchise player in Max Crosby? It obviously sounds crazy to think about right now, but then again, the thought of us losing Khalil Mack back in 2018 when John Gruden came in, at that time it also seemed like a crazy idea, but it ultimately ended up happening. So this is definitely something to take into consideration. The impact of such a move would have terrible ripple effects, setting back the franchise and reshaping the team dynamics for years to come. And in another report, sources claim that Antonio Pierce has indeed emerged as the ultimate leading candidate for the head coaching position, and crucially, he has garnered support from key players within the team, according to league sources. The momentum appears to be swinging in Antonio Pierce's favor, creating an air of anticipation within the Raiders organization. While other options do exist for Mark Davis to consider, insiders are expressing confidence in Antonio Pierce as the next head coach. One source even stated, "I'd be blown away if Antonio weren't the pick." This sentiment just reflects a growing consensus among those close to the decision-making process. The next few days are poised to be crucial in determining the future leadership of the Las Vegas Raiders. We are conducting interviews with GMs like interim GM Champ Kelly, also Colts assistant general manager Ed Dobbs. So I have a feeling things will be moving along fairly quickly within the next few days, and after that the news about who our next head coach should come fairly quickly after that. I hope this is the case. I don't want this whole situation to drag out. I think we need to make our move as soon as possible. That way we can officially begin the off season and officially begin to start considering the potential moves coming up during the crucial off season. You know, what players to re-sign, what players we should target in free agency, filling out our coaching staff, who's going to be our next offensive coordinator, things of that nature, and then eventually moving towards the draft. You know, a lot of different things that are going to have to be decided within this off season, and it all starts with who will be the leaders of this team from a coaching perspective and from the general manager position. Mark Davis faces a significant decision that will shape the trajectory of this franchise. The reports suggest a leaning towards Antonio Pierce, but the dynamics of the coaching selection process can be unpredictable, but everything seems to be pointing in the direction of running it back with Antonio Pierce, which makes me very excited. I think Antonio Pierce, in the 9 games he played, he showed a lot of promise. Now, it wasn't perfect, but at the same time, this offense was terrible, which the offense was under Josh McDaniels, so I'm gonna have to give him some time to get that whole situation corrected. We're gonna have to bring in the right offensive coordinator and bring in a new philosophy on the offensive side of the football, because the talent is there. And although the Raiders missed the playoffs, I think this season a lot of good things happened. The Raiders finally got that monkey off their back. They beat the Chiefs. They showed everybody in this franchise that the Chiefs are not unbeatable. And if you go in there prepared and you go in there with a fearless mentality, with a mentality to go out there and dominate them, then the Chiefs, just like any other team in the National Football League, can be beaten on any given Sunday. And ultimately, I think the Raiders and Antonio Pierce laid the foundation for the culture shift within this franchise. You can feel that the Raiders finally have an identity. You can feel the culture being installed within this team, and it really feels like a modern day version of the Raiders of the past, which is very exciting to see. You know, that's a big thing for me. And if Antonio Pierce is retained, we just got to focus on improving this roster. If you improve this roster, there's a lot of good things to move forward with this team. We're a relatively young football team as well. We got a lot of players, especially on the defensive side of the football, that are very young. I mean, Max Crosby's still young, like about 26 years of age. We got Nate Hobbs, we got Divine Diablo, we got Morig, we got Robert Spillane. I think he's about 27, 28. We got a nice young nucleus on the defense. We just got to focus on the offensive side of the football, getting that right, investing some resources in the trenches on the offensive line. But besides that, in the skill positions, the Raiders have a lot of talent, so I think we're close. And that's why ideally I would like to run it back with AP. I think if you bring in another guy like Harbaugh, you run the risk of him blowing it up, and I just really don't want to see that happen with this team. I think this team is closer to competing and being a playoff contender than a lot of other people may think. But ultimately, we'll just end up seeing what happens. As fans and analysts eagerly await the outcome of the Raiders, the spotlight remains firmly on Mark Davis and the unfolding narrative surrounding Antonio Pierce's potential appointment as the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. But Raider Nation, I definitely want to get your guys' feedback. Are you guys excited to see that Antonio Pierce is emerging as the leading candidate? Also, do you guys think that Max Crosby could potentially request a trade if Antonio Pierce isn't hired as the next head coach? Let me know in the comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that is all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.